There will come a moment when you stand at the edge of your strength, your voice trembling, your hope flickering like a candle in a storm, and everything in you wants to give up. But listen to me now. It is not success that defines you. It is the courage to keep trying when success seems far away. That is where your power is born. Welcome to Unlocking Wisdom, is where timeless truth meets personal transformation. Here, you awaken your inner compass, face life's storms with strength, and unlock the wisdom buried deep within you. You want to succeed, I know you do. But let me ask you something that most people are too afraid to face. What if success doesn't come when you expect it? What if everything you've tried so hard to build crumbles in front of you? Will you still stand? Will you still keep moving? Or will you let the weight of disappointment chain your soul to stillness? I've watched men break, not because they were weak, but because they misunderstood the true nature of strength. Strength isn't the absence of failure. It's not the loud, visible triumphs that impress the crowd. No, true strength is silent. It lives deep in your bones. It whispers when the world shouts at you to give up. It holds you upright when your knees buckle, and it only reveals itself when everything else has failed. That strength, you have it. You may not feel it now. You may feel shattered, uncertain, even angry with yourself, but you have it. It's not gone. It's never gone. It simply waits for you to notice it again. Let me tell you something from a lifetime of battlefields. Both in war and within, success is a mirage for those who chase only results. But for those who chase growth, who keep showing up no matter what the outcome is, success comes quietly and undeniably. I've known men who lost everything and still rose. I've seen souls who were beaten by the world who lost their homes, their titles, their pride, but never lost their will. And do you know what that will did? It rebuilt them from the ashes, stronger, wiser, more alive than ever before. That's what you're capable of. But here's the danger. Too many people wait for permission to rise. They wait for the right time, the right words, the right mood. Let me be clear. There is no right time. There is only now. The battlefield of your life does not pause to ask if you're ready. It demands that you move, even when your hands are trembling and your heart is bruised, even when you feel you have nothing left to give, because that's when your real character is forged. When you keep walking through the storm, not because it's easy, but because something deep within you refuses to surrender. I know what it feels like to doubt every step you take, to lie awake at night wondering if you'll ever get it right. And yet, I also know that there is something unbreakable in you. Something divine, something forged in the fires of your failures and born from your refusal to stay down. And that's what I want you to see. Not who you pretend to be, not who the world expects, but the warrior within you who never gives up, who rises not just once, but again and again and again, until one day you look back and realize you didn't just survive the hard times. You were transformed by them, molded, refined, awakened. You became someone who didn't just dream of strength. You lived it. You embodied it. Because in the end, that's what separates the few who break through from the many who fall behind. Not talent, not luck, but the sacred decision to keep going when quitting feels easier. When no one else is watching, when no reward is in sight, only you and the silence of your own soul choosing to try one more time. And if you can do that, then it does not matter how many times you failed, because you are becoming unstoppable. Not by force, but by faith in who you are becoming. And that is the kind of victory no one can take from you. Continuing from where we left off, I want you to pause and breathe for a moment. Not the kind of breath that keeps you alive, but the kind that reminds you that you're still fighting, still here, still worthy of becoming who you were meant to be. I know the path gets narrow, the road uneven, and sometimes it feels like the whole world is shouting that you're not enough. But let me tell you something that too many people forget in their search for glory. You were not born to have it easy. You were born to become resilient, unshakable, forged through pain, not pampered into strength. And every time you fail and rise, you're not going backward, you're evolving. You're training your soul, too. Stand in storms that would shatter others. I've seen soldiers freeze in the face of gunfire because they thought they needed to feel brave before they moved. But bravery isn't a feeling. It's a decision, a moment when you tell your legs to run even if fear is screaming through your veins. The same is true in life. Waiting for motivation is a myth. If you want to be strong, you must act when everything inside you begs you to stay down, because growth does not come dressed in comfort. It wears the face of rejection, disappointment, isolation, even ridicule. But beneath those masks lies the doorway to your breakthrough. And if you have the courage to walk through it, to keep showing up for yourself even when no one claps, then you're already ahead of the game, because most people quit not when it's impossible, but when it's inconvenient. You must not be one of them. Hear me clearly. Effort is never wasted. Not a single ounce of it. Every late night you grind. Through every tear you wipe away in silence. Every small step you take in the dark counts. It builds something inside you, something permanent. Something no one can see until it suddenly erupts as unstoppable success. But if you give up before that eruption, you'll never know who you could have been. And that, my friend, is a tragedy far greater than failure. You see? People confuse success with achievement, but real success is when you can look in the mirror and say, I gave everything I had. I left nothing inside me to rot. I spent my potential fully. And even if I didn't get the outcome I dreamed of, I became someone I am proud of. And I've been through too much, seen too many silent warriors like you to let you walk away from your effort without realizing what it means. It means you're still in the fight. It means your story isn't over. And sometimes, that's more powerful than any finish line. Success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts, said Winston Churchill. And that courage, that relentless spirit to continue, is already alive in you. It may be buried beneath layers of self-doubt or the scars of your past. But it's not gone. It's never gone. And now is the time to uncover it, not tomorrow. Not when the timing is right, but now, because when you move from a place of raw effort, without guarantees, without praise, you awaken a power most people will never taste. And once you touch that power, you no longer need applause or approval to know your worth. Your effort becomes your identity, and that identity is fireproof. So, keep going. Even if the steps are small, even if progress is slow, even if no one believes in you yet, because belief isn't something you borrow from others. It's something you build for yourself, one decision, one effort, one sacrifice at a time. And when the day comes that your results finally catch up to your heart, you'll understand why the struggle was sacred, why the fire was necessary, and why your journey, with all its failures, was the real gift. Now we move forward, not blindly, but with eyes that have tasted fire and still dare to see light. You may be wondering why life feels like a never-ending cycle of striving and stumbling, of building only to watch it collapse. But listen to me. There's a power hidden in every fall, not the kind of power that screams in victory, but the kind that whispers truth into your bones, the kind that reshapes you from the inside out. You are not broken because you failed. You are being reshaped because you dared to try. And every time you fall and rise again, you gather a kind of strength no textbook can teach and no mentor can transfer. This strength is earned in the trenches of your life, in the lonely battles where the only person who could pull you back up was yourself. And that person, yes, that version of you is far more powerful than you give credit. You don't become wise by reading about wisdom. You become wise by making mistakes that leave marks, by choosing wrong when everything in you thought it was right, by trusting people who later betrayed, and by believing in dreams that didn't unfold the way you planned. And still, you didn't lose. You gained awareness, gained insight, gained intuition. Your instincts sharpened not through comfort, but through fire. And I promise you this: no foolish moment was wasted if it brought you closer to truth. You may have lost time, money, relationships, or status, but you gained something far more valuably. You gained you. And that is a treasure the world tries to take from you daily, but it can never steal what you fought to win. You see, there is a sacred kind of clarity that only comes after everything goes wrong, when the masks fall off and you see people's true faces, when the illusions you clung to dissolve and you're left with only what's real. That's where true wisdom is born, not in success, but in the spaces between attempts. The silence after defeat, the raw confrontation with your own heart when you ask, do I still believe in this, even when nothing is working yet? If your answer is yes, then you've already won something bigger than success. You've won ownership over your soul. Let me tell you this. As someone who's led through war, through despair, through impossible odds, it is the people who fall the hardest and rise the slowest that become the strongest, because they learn how to carry their pain without letting it poison them. They know how to look at themselves honestly and still choose to move forward. They stop pretending to be perfect and start becoming whole. And that kind of wholeness, born from brokenness, is what changes history. You don't need to be the best to begin. You need to be willing to face your past without shame, to face your future without fear, and to face today with relentless integrity in every fall. There is a question waiting to be answered. Are you falling apart or falling into place? Most people never stop to ask. They panic, they retreat. They numb themselves from the pain, but not you. You're here, reading this, seeking, listening, which means you're already different, already being refined. Don't waste that by trying to look strong on the outside. Get honest with yourself on the inside, because your next breakthrough isn't waiting in perfection. It's hiding in your honesty, and honesty is the soil where real success is planted. Only those who dare to fail greatly can ever achieve greatly. Robert F. Kennedy, and those words are not just poetic. They are prophetic for anyone brave enough to embrace the messy, unfiltered, painful, and beautiful process of becoming. That process is your true success, not the destination, but the decision to keep sculpting yourself through every fall. Because every scar has a story, and every story carries the seed of power. So what now? You've fallen, good, now rise, not like before, not to prove anything to anyone else, but to meet a deeper part of yourself that only failure could introduce you to. This is not the end of your path. This is the curve where fools become wise, where the blind learn to see, and where the broken rise as architects of their own meaning. So don't just get back up, grow back up. Rise differently, rise deliberately, and rise determined to never let a fall be wasted. And now we go deeper, because by now you felt the heat of your own internal fire, the kind that doesn't just burn away the lies you've believed, but one that refines what's true, what's real, what's worthy of remaining life's hardest. Seasons aren't meant to destroy you. They are designed to remove everything that cannot stay with you on the path to purpose. It's not the fire that's your enemy. It's your refusal to surrender to its work. Because fire only hurts when you resist it. But when you allow it to move through you, it transforms you from fragile to fearless. From scattered to solid, from waiting for life to change to becoming the change yourself. There comes a point where you realize the pain didn't come to break you. It came to introduce you to the version of yourself that no one claps for. The one who cries in silence, who doubts everything, and yet still moves forward. And if you're still breathing, if you still have 1 ounce of strength, then the fire has not won. It is only revealed where you stopped believing in your own power. And that is the exact place you must rebuild from, not with empty motivation, but with fierce self-respect. Because when everything is stripped away, what remains is your truth, and your truth is enough to start again with being taught to fear struggle, to avoid discomfort, to interpret pain as a sign we're off track. But I will tell you now, if your heart is hurting and your mind is tired, it might mean you are finally breaking out of the prison you've outgrown. And like a snake shedding its skin or a seed cracking open underground, there is no beauty in the process but unspeakable glory in the result. You are not here to play small and fit in. You are here to stretch, to expand, to collide with every limitation and rise with holy defiance. This is your sacred rebellion, not against the world, but against every version of yourself that ever said, "I can't." It's time to stop measuring yourself by outcomes and start honoring the effort. The internal war no one sees. The choice to rise without applause, to show up even when nothing in your life makes sense yet. Because that's where transformation is forged. Not in comfort, but in courage. Not in validation, but in vision. And vision requires fire. You must burn for something greater than safety. And the truth is, the person you are becoming cannot be created without letting go of who you used to be. The bridge between the two is made of fire, and walking through it is not a punishment. The price of power. Strength does not come from physical capacity. It comes from an indomitable will. Mahatma Gandhi. And it's that will inside you, the one that refuses to go numb, refuses to give up, and refuses to forget that your life has meaning, even in the dark, even when progress is invisible, even when nothing you've prayed for has arrived yet. That will is your lifeline. That will is your fire. And it will not fail you if you stop fighting it. Let this sink in. The fire you're facing is not here to test your worth. It's here to ignite your awakening. It's here to teach you that failure is not the opposite of success, is the doorway, the gate, the sacred path through which every true transformation begins. The bitterness you feel isn't proof that you've lost. It's proof that you care deeply. And if you care, you can build again, dream again, believe again. That's not navit, that's courage reborn in wisdom. So what are you waiting for? Permission, validation, a guarantee that it'll work out this time. You'll wait forever, because none of that will ever come from the outside. It has to come from within. Your future self is waiting on you to walk through this fire, not with answers, but with the resolve to rise anyway. And when you do, you won't just survive. You'll shine with the kind of strength that only comes from having been burned and refusing to disappear. Keep going. Because this fire is not here to burn you alive. It's here to awaken the part of you that was made for more. And you'll find it not by escaping pain, but by walking straight through it, with your eyes open and your soul lit by a deeper truth. That you were never meant to stay safe. You were meant to be free. Continue now, not because it's easy, but because something deep inside you still believes in the worth of the fight. Maybe no one else sees the war you're in. Maybe they only see your face, your smile, your routine. But I know the truth. Beneath it, I know there are nights you stare at the ceiling and wonder if it's all going to be worth it. I know the questions that claw at you like ghosts. What if I never make it? What if this was all for nothing? What if I am not enough? But hear me now. Just because you haven't seen the fruit doesn't mean the seed is dead. Effort is never wasted. Not when it comes from a place of soul. You see, the greatest battles are often fought in silence. Not in the spotlight, but in the shadows of self-doubt. And this right now is the proving ground. This is the place where most people give up. Not because they're weak, but because they've forgotten why they started. But you must not forget. Not now, not here. Not when the next step might be the one that finally turns the tide. Don't quit just because the reward hasn't shown up on your timeline. Your timeline is not the truth. Your timeline is not the measure of destiny. Your willingness to endure is success is not final. Failure is not fatal. It is the courage to continue that counts. Winston Churchill, and that courage, it's already in you. Not loud, maybe not even visible, but beating like a silent drum inside your chest, and it gets louder every time you refuse to quit. Every time you fall and get back up. Every time. You silence the voice that says, "What's the point?" With one simple answer, because I still have more to give. This is not just about achievement. This is about becoming. Becoming someone who can carry the weight of the dreams they claim to want. Because success is not a gift. It's a responsibility, and the trials you're facing are not punishments. They are preparation. You don't get to skip this part. You don't get to leap from desire to fulfillment without walking the long, hard middle called endurance. And here's the secret they don't teach in schools. Failure is not the opposite of progress. It is progress in disguise, the kind that teaches you what strength really means. You might be bleeding emotionally, mentally, spiritually, but you are still here, and that counts for everything. It means the flame hasn't gone out. It means you still believe, even if that belief is battered and torn. You still have breath, and that breath is sacred. That breath is a promise that something in you is not done yet. Not surrendered, not broken beyond repair. Stop looking for signs outside to keep you moving, and start listening to the whisper inside you, because that whisper is God. That whisper is the part of you untouched by disappointment, untouched by failure, untouched by fear, and it is calling you forward. Not because you have everything figured out, but because you have the courage to keep going even when you don't. That kind of faith is rare. That kind of fire changes everything. You may encounter many defeats, but you must not be defeated. In fact, it may be necessary to encounter the defeats so you can know who you are. Maya Angelou, and now you do. Now you're beginning to realize that you're stronger than the thing that tried to stop you. Smarter than the voice that told you to settle. Braver than the fear that said you couldn't handle the truth. Because the truth is this: you were never failing. You were learning. You were refining. You were waking up, and maybe the world isn't ready to applaud that yet. Maybe the results don't match your expectations yet. But I'm telling you now, the most important thing you'll ever do is keep going anyway. Not because you see the finish line, but because you've finally decided to stop waiting for certainty and start trusting the strength that's been inside you all along. Keep pressing forward. Because the fight you're in is not just about reaching some future place. It's about proving to yourself right here, right now, that your resilience is real, that your dreams matter, that your soul cannot be silenced by disappointment. You are not done. You are just getting started. And the most powerful chapter of your story begins not at the finish line, but exactly where you choose to rise, once again, from the middle. Until now, you've walked through shadows that tried to convince you the sun had left forever. You've stood at the edge of your own strength, wondering if you were built to go further. But hear me now, not with the voice of a man, but with the breath of truth. You were never meant to quit in the valley. You were born to carry the fire through it. Because the fire inside you is not ordinary. It is not fragile. It is divine, and it is yours. Yours to protect, yours to believe in. Yours to build a life upon. There will be voices, always, that tell you to let it go, to compromise, to settle for something smaller, safer, easier. But what they do not understand is this: there is a calling that burns in you so deeply, it refuses to be silenced. And that calling is not interested in comfort. It is interested in awakening. In pulling you into the kind of strength that only reveals itself in adversity, the kind of purpose that only becomes clear when everything around you dares you to forget it. And yet, you remember. You remember what it felt like the first time you dreamed. The first time you saw more than just survival. The first time you believed that your life could mean something extraordinary. This is not about blind optimism. This is about sacred responsibility. The kind of responsibility that says, if I have breath, I have purpose. And if I have purpose, I have no business abandoning it just because the road is long or the weight is heavy. Because the heaviest weight of all is regret, the kind that whispers in your final hour, "What if you had tried one more time?" And I don't want that for you. I want you to know deep in your soul that you gave everything, that you left no strength unused, no gift buried, no passion forgotten in the dust of convenience. So when it hurts, press deeper, not because you enjoy pain, but because you understand its place in the process. You understand that diamonds are not found lying on the surface, they are formed under pressure, heat, and darkness, just like the kind you've walked through, and still, you're here, not broken, not lost, not empty, but ready. Ready to become who you were always meant to be, not the version of you that plays small, but the version that roars back into the fight, even when exhausted, even when alone, even when uncertain. I tell you now, if you do not quit on yourself, you will rise. It might not look how you imagined, and it might not come when you hope, but the rising is inevitable for those who refuse to surrender to fear. And that's what you've been learning all along, not how to win by force, but how to win by fire. The fire that burns away who you were never meant to be and leaves behind only the gold of who you really are not average. You are not disposable. You are not forgotten. You are the rare one, the one who chooses growth over ease, meaning over approval, and purpose over popularity. And that choice, day after day, is what separates the remembered from the forgotten, the builders from the wanderers, the legends from the noise. So build, even when no one claps. Build, even when you fail forward. Build, because that is who you. A builder of destiny, a vessel of something sacred and powerful and unshakable. And it will take everything you've got, yes, but it will give you back something the world cannot take away: integrity, fulfillment, peace, and the quiet. Knowing that you did not run from your becoming. Success usually comes to those who are too busy to be looking for it. Henry David Thoreau. And now, that's you, not waiting for success to knock, but becoming someone success can't ignore, not because you chased applause, but because you chased alignment. Because you finally decided that the greatest achievement of all is to become whole, to walk with truth, to breathe with intention, to live with fire in your bones and faith in your heart. Now we stand at the edge of everything you fought through, everything you faced down, and everything you've risen from. And I ask you to pause, not to rest, but to recognize what you've already done, because too often we forget to honor our own becoming. We forget that survival was not guaranteed, that there were nights the weight felt unbearable and days when the silence inside you was louder than any scream. And yet here you are, not only standing, but stronger, wiser, deeper than before. This final part is not about arrival. It is about revelation, the realization that what you've been building all along wasn't just a future. It was a self, a spirit unbreakable, a mind reshaped by truth, and a soul refined through the fire of relentless effort. And if you've been waiting for permission to believe you're enough, let this moment be it. Because I, George Washington, not as a historical figure, but as a voice for those who dare to live awake, tell you, this you were never the problem. Only your belief that you had to earn your worth was. And that ends now. There will be those who look at your journey and see only the failures. But let them, because failure was never the enemy. Regret was, and you've outlived it. You've stared down that demon and said, "I'll keep going anyway." And that's right, there's what separates the truly alive from the merely existing. Let me whisper something sacred into your soul now. Trying and failing is not a curse. It is the cost of meaning. It is the process by which the shallow is stripped away and only the eternal remains. So when your hands feel empty, when your results seem invisible, remember this: your effort was never wasted, because every ounce of it was shaping who you are becoming, and who you are becoming matters more than any trophy, applause, or outcome this world could offering this life. Some climb mountains only to plant a flag at the top, but others climb to become the mountain itself immovable, unshaken, rising not for recognition, but to cast shelter, to inspire, to remind the world what resilience looks like in human form. And that's what you are now, not just someone who tried, but someone who transformed. You no longer need the world to clap. You only need to continue, to trust that the seeds you've planted in pain will bloom in power. That the days you pushed without progress were not wasted, but woven into your becoming. That the failures were not endings, but invitations to rise again and again, until even failure itself bowed to your will, fall 7 times. Stand up 8. That old Japanese proverb wasn't just poetry, was prophecy, and you've lived it. Not because you had to, but because something inside you refused to stop, refused to settle, refused to shrink to fit someone else's idea of success. And now you know that success isn't always a celebration. Sometimes it's simply the quiet peace of knowing you gave everything, left nothing unsaid, nothing unlived, nothing unattempted to those who doubted you. You owe them nothing. To the parts of yourself that doubted you, owe them forgiveness. It's because they were trying to protect you, but now you lead them forward. Not with fear, but with fire. Not with questions, but with conviction. Not with empty striving, but with a sacred vow that says, as long as there is something left in me to give, I will keep giving, not for approval, not for outcome, but because I was made to rise. And if today you find yourself tired, not from laziness, but from carrying weight only the brave will ever understand, I tell you, no rest, if you must, but never retreat, because the path you are on is not about speed, it is about staying true. And if your heart still beats, then your mission is not over. Your purpose is not finished. Your time is still now. So go, not because success is guaranteed, but because regret is too high a price. And you were made for more than comfort. You were made for depth, for legacy, for truth, for fire, for freedom, and for the kind of victory that can't be measured in medals, but only in who you became in the battleland. If this message stirred something inside you, something quiet but undeniable, then don't let it end here. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share this light, and if this voice has walked with you even a little on your path, consider liking and subscribing to Unlocking Wisdom, because your journey has only just begun, and together we rise.